Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Performapal Yugioh deck profile for April 2019. With the release of Dual Power, we got a good amount of support for Performapals and Odd Eyes and Pendulum monsters overall in general, just to help with an update to the Performapal deck. Plus, a lot of you have been requesting that I update this deck, so I figured with the new support finally released, I figured it was the best time to do a deck profile. It's really fun. The whole point of the Performapal deck is just to Pendulum summon out a bunch of different monsters, then gain different effects based on the monsters you summon out, and also have different options available to you with the extra deck and all the monsters you can summon out, since we have Performapal tuners, fusion options, and just, monsters at the same level for exceeds as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, I run 2 of the new Performapal Smile Sorcerer. If a monster you control whose current attack is higher than its original attack is destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can special summon this card from your Pendulum Zone. You can only use this effect of Smile Sorcerer once per turn. And the monster effect is, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Smile spell or trap from your deck to your hand. If every monster you control is a Performapal, Odd Eyes, or Pendulum Magician monster, and this card's current attack is higher than its original attack, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters you control whose current attack is higher than their original attack. And you also cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. You can only use each effect of Smile Sorcerer once per turn. So the whole point of Smile Sorcerer with that search is to benefit off of Smile World, which is the card you can search off of Smile Sorcerer, which boosts up the attack of all monsters on the field, meaning you'll get the draw effects for Smile Sorcerer along with just being able to boost up all your other monsters to begin with as well. Plus, the low scale with this card definitely does help just to, get out some lower level monsters we run in the deck for Pendulum summoning them to the field. And I also run 3 Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer. We're very limited to some of the Performapals, so with the upcoming ban list, I really do hope we see some of those cards, Skullcrabat and Monkey Board, off of the list. I just think it would be a big help for the deck for sure. At least get one of those off the list to assist with the deck. But until then, Pendulum Sorcerer definitely does help with the fact that you can destroy your Pendulum scales and search different Performapals, and its Pendulum scale effect being a low scale definitely does help as well. But being able to boost up your Performapal monsters by 1000 attack when a Performapal is Pendulum Summon definitely does help as well. It's a definite 3 of in the deck for that easy search, and the fact that it's a level 4 helps with a bunch of our different Exceed summons also. I also run, probably been a favorite of mine in the deck, is Performapal Second Donkey. Just by having your scales filled out when it's normal or special summon, you can send 1 Performapal monster from your deck to the graveyard, except Second Donkey. If you have 2 cards in your Pendulum Zones, you can add that card to your hand instead. So basically your searcher right there, when you Pendulum summon this card out, you're open up to your searches. If you end up destroying your scales with Pendulum Sorcerer and you summon these 2 out at the same time, you can gain additional searches with your Second Donkey. So a very big help there for sure. I also run 3 Performapal Odd Eyes Minotaurus. If your Performapal or Odd Eyes monster attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. It's its scale 6 effect. And during damage calc, if your Pendulum monster attacks an opponent's monster, you can make that opponent's monster to lose 100 attack for each Performapal and Odd Eyes card you control during damage calc only. So another good card just to have for the heavy hitter. Plus, it's also an Odd Eyes card in the name, so another additional search for some of our other cards. And I also run 2 Performapal Yugioh Golem. For once per turn, if a monster is fusion summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can add 1 Performapal Odd Eyes or Magician Pendulum from your graveyard or face up in your extract to your hand. So good recycling there. And once per turn during your main phase, if this card was Pendulum summoned this turn, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using this card you control and a dragon type monster as fusion material. So just additional search for the fusions in our extra deck, which take up a good amount of the extra deck for cards to play. So Yugioh Golem with its fusion option, or if not that, just the fact that it's a level 4 for our Dark Rebellion target, since I always like to run the different fusion dragons in the deck as well. And for synchro options, I just run 2 Odd Eyes Synchron. With this one, you can target 1. If it's special summon, it cannot be special summon. If this card is special summon from the extra deck, it can be used as synchro material and banish it. And when this card is normal summon, you can target 1 level 3 or lower Performapal Odd Eyes monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it has its effects negated. And once per turn, you can target 1 card in your Pendulum Zone, special summon it, but it has its effects negated, if any. And if you do, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon 1 synchro monster using this monster and find that card. So most of the time with Odd Eye Synchron, I use it for the special summon from the Pendulum Scale. It's an additional monster that we can make use of right then and there, and then go into one of our synchro monsters that we run in the extra deck. And then for some of the one-ofs, plenty of Performapal one-ofs in the deck just for the fact that they're easy to search out with cards like Pendulum Sorcerer. So one Odd Eyes Dissolver, just another good card that helps for the fusion option with cards in the Pendulum Scale. Just like how Odd Eyes Synchron helps with the Synchro Summon, this one helps with fusioning from the Pendulum Scales. Odd Eyes Unicorn, just another additional high scale to run, and with cards like Sky Iris, which we'll get to in a bit, just another search for Odd Eyes in the name with a lot of the cards in the deck. Also, one Daggerman, level 5 with Odd Eye Synchron. It's our Clear Wing target. And Light Phoenix being the same option, just with the search since it has Odd Eyes in the name. And I also run a good amount of Odd Eyes support to assist with the Performapals. I run one of the new Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon. With this card, you can tribute summon this card by tributing one level 5 or higher monster, and if this card is tribute summoned, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. And if this card destroys a monster by battle, you can special summon one level 5 or higher monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, except for Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon. You can only use this effect of Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon once per turn, so you just have some pretty offensive capabilities with this card, being able to destroy cards and inflict damage, and have that special summon option available to you. And all you have to do is tribute summon one of your level 5 or higher monsters, which you can easily get out onto the field. Some of the other ones, which are Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, trying out the new art. I really do love how the new art definitely does look. Just your searcher, and if it battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage inflicts to your opponent is doubled, plus an easy searcher with the deck, depending on what card you wanted to go for. And also for the Odd Eyes support, just to help out, I run two Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon, just another high scale, along with Unicorn to go for, so you have your 1 in 8 scales set pretty good with the deck. If an Odd Eyes card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Odd Eyes monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can use this effect of Arc Pendulum Dragon once per turn. So you just have more search options available with this card, and just another level 7 dragon you can summon out if you need for that option. And that is it for the monsters. Run a pretty big monster count, but it all works very well together just for the, plenty of pendulum summons you want to do with the bunch of different monsters. But for the spells, I run 2 Soul Pendulum. You can target 2 cards in your pendulum zones, change each target's pendulum scale by 1, minimum 1. You can only use this effect of Soul Pendulum once per turn, and each time your pendulum monsters is pendulum summoned, place 1 counter on this card. Pendulum monsters on the field gain 300 attack for each counter on this card, and you can remove 3 counters for this card. During your main phase this turn, you can conduct 1 pendulum summon of monsters in addition to your pendulum summon. You can only gain this effect once per turn, but the attack boost definitely does help for having monsters to work with Smile Sorcerer for the different attack effects. If you don't have the Smile World option available to you, even though you should be able to search it with your Smile Sorcerer, and the fact that you can gain the additional pendulum summon if you do build up your counters, plus the adjustable scales means you can get out your level 8s faster onto the field by raising those scales. Considered it bumping it up to 3. If I was going to, I would reduce my numbers of Sky Iris, just the field spell searcher, which definitely does help for some of your other plays with the deck, being able to search out plenty of the Odd Eyes monsters. You have almost every monster available for search. The ones you don't, you can obviously search out with cards like Pendulum Sorcerer. So this field spell also protects your pendulum cards, so a great option to run. But like I said, I was moving back and forth between this and Soul Pendulum for how many of each I wanted to play. And then for just additional fusion options, I run 2 fusion substitutes, just a good way to make use of fusion summoning with your pendulum summon monsters and getting that draw power from the graveyard. And I also run 1 Odd Eyes Fusion. It's a search target off of Sky Iris as well, just being able to fusion summon a dragon-type fusion monster from your extra deck using cards from the hand or field. And if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and you control no monsters, you can also use 2 Odd Eyes monsters in your extra deck, which you can have access to pretty easily with Odd Eyes Pendulum and Arc Dragon. And I also run 2 Performance Hurricane. I always had this card at 3, but with the addition of some of the other spells in the deck, I decided to bump it down to 2. Just being able to bounce your opponent's cards back to their hand for having some Performapals on the field definitely does come in handy for those plays. And also for extra protection with your Performapals, 2 Bubble Barrier, preventing damage and destruction for your Performapals. This continuous spell definitely does come in handy, which a lot of the continuous spells will also give your opponent options on which ones they'd want to destroy, either taking out the Sky Iris to get to your Pendulum Scales, or the Soul Pendulum that you may be building up to get an additional Pendulum play off. It all just matters really on what your opponent wants to go for and what they think would be most vital to take you out. And I also run 2 Duelist Alliance, just more search for Pendulum cards that have Pendulum in the name or a Pendulum spell or trap, so plenty of search available to you with this card as well. And lastly, for the spell, I have 1 Smile Universe in the deck. This would be Smile World. I just don't know where I place my Smile Worlds at, but just a better card to make use of with Smile Sorceress and Smile Universe. It does help with special summoning, but since we're limited with link format and how many you can special summon out, it doesn't help as much, but it's just an option, especially if you do activate at the end of your opponent's turn. Next turn you can use those monsters as you wish. But like I said, for the overall play of the deck, would definitely consider Smile World instead of Smile Universe. And then for the traps, still running the 1 Performapal Pinch Helper, just helps with setting this card, activating it, getting the special summon. If you didn't want to run traps and go full spells, you can try the 1 Smile Universe, and then instead of Pinch Helper, putting in the 1 Smile World instead of this card as well, to have both options for the search, depending on what you wanted to go for. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra. I tried to keep the extra as fun as possible just for all the different fusion plays you can go for. 1 Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon, 1 Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon, 1 Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon for the Odd Eyes fusions, and then 2 Performapal Gatling Ghoul, one of your easier fusions to go for with Odd Eyes and all your different Performapals, plus a very powerful one at that. And I also run 1 Odd Eyes Venom Dragon, one of the more harder ones to get off. Basically, if you have the Starving Venom option, which if you wanted to add Starving Venom into the deck, I just couldn't find, I think it's with my Smile World. I was gathering up the cards and then just misplaced them. I would take out 1 Gatling Ghoul for the additional Starving Venom Dragon to make use of with your Odd Eyes Venom. Just a more powerful one to go for. I can't wait till we get our Odd Eyes Synchro Dragon as well, our Odd Eyes Clearwing Dragon. It's going to be a great option and a different take on what I can do with the deck as well. But speaking of synchros, I also run 1 Clearwing Synchro Dragon and 1 Odd Eyes Meteor Burst. The Clearwing option just to stick true to the Yugioh deck, and then Meteor Burst helps with special summoning monsters from your Pendulum Scales to use for other plays. And then for the Exceed monsters, I run 1 Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, being able to overlay them, and then when it's sent to the graveyard for some of your other plays, being able to get out Vortex Dragon as a special summon. Also 1 Majester Paladin, 1 Dark Rebellion Exceed Dragon, and 1 Tornado Dragon to finish off the Exceed monsters. And then for the Link monsters, I run 1 Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. This card definitely does help for the search plays you can do with the deck and setting up your scales with some better cards in the extra deck. Also 1 Underclock Taker, pretty generic for the effect monsters, just to get out a Link depending on what monsters you may have on the field. And same goes for 1 Zephyra Metaltron. With the plenty of extra deck monsters you can make, and setting up this card's scales for more Performapal Pendulum summons from your extra deck definitely does come in handy. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. This is the first of many decks to come from the Dual Power set, so I hope you all enjoy, and definitely stay tuned for the rest of those. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.